Welcome to SUSECON Day 2. And I want to personally thank you, all of you customers and partners in the room, for waking up this morning and joining us, but more importantly, for trusting us with your business. Every single person at SUSE, and specifically for the next couple of hours, people from the technology and product teams, everything that we do at SUSE is for supporting you and empowering you to be successful with your business. We focus on enabling your IT and your company to be the best version of themselves. This is why we're so glad and grateful to recognize your achievements with the SUSECON Customer Awards, celebrating and sharing your successes on stage during the keynote with DP yesterday, and more to come this morning. Ben from OC Broadband, who was sitting right here yesterday morning, said it best and very clearly. We want a stack that is simple to manage, efficient, and reliable. We found that SUSE really gives us that. We have many quotes with many numbers on return on investment, accelerated time to market, optimizing costs, but this one does particularly strike me and stay with me because it's simple and it states what you need to do to be successful and how we can help you. We are listening to a lot of you, here and outside the room, across different industries, different use cases, all over the world, companies of different sizes with different business models. We speak a lot with analysts, we monitor the market and the industry, and hence we know that there are clearly a dozen or so challenges and priorities that you're facing as CIOs. We actually believe that there are 4 top priorities that you need to handle today that are really standing out and capturing the most pressing needs you have. And those 4 top priorities are largely interdependent. First, the pressure to innovate keeps on accelerating. There are 2 new technologies that are moving from bleeding edge to mainstream adoption at an ever-increasing pace. And it is ramping up pressure on new CIOs to actually modernize applications, and not just modernize, but modernize much faster than before. To do this, you have to have an infrastructure that can cope with emerging technologies. And you also need to have team members who are not just focusing on the maintenance mode of your systems, but on making sure that you mature your application estate forward. This means re-architecting, rethinking the way you design software and applications, and also moving them to distributed cloud-native architecture. Yet, not all the applications deserve or justify modernization. You will have traditional apps that need to coexist with modern ones. And coexistence means complexity, and complexity means cost. So one of the other priorities that we always have as CIOs or CTOs is optimizing costs. We've all been there, and if we are honest with ourselves, we're always there, actually. Costs are rapidly rising in both traditional and modern infrastructure. You must control them while delivering increasingly complex customer experiences. You need to get the most impact from your team as well as from the solutions that you're using. Challenges in IT, complexity, and innovation have grown much faster than budgets. It creates constant pressures to make trade-offs. For instance, you may need to redeploy or repatriate some workloads from one environment to another one, or you may want to adopt new technologies to automate and simplify your IT. Do more with less. DP mentioned that a couple of times, and do more with less, I'm sure, is top of mind as well for you. Yet, you need to keep something in mind, and we all do that, something that you cannot compromise with. This aspect that we should never compromise with is security. Cybersecurity continues to be a top-of-mind priority because for as long as there's value to be gained, there will be bad players. Global cybercrime now costs businesses more than $6 trillion annually. So that's a priority, obviously, right? Now, along with the modern, evolving applications and infrastructure, the security threat landscape is also expanding. You must ensure you've locked down your supply chain, that you have visibility and governance to meet your compliance and regulations. You have to quickly anticipate and respond to zero-day attacks. By the way, can I ask, who has watched Zero Day on Netflix with De Niro? A few of you, right? So it gives slightly fictional, but it gives a good example of what could go wrong if we don't pay attention as professionals. I wanted to have a nice De Niro picture on the screen, by the way. and my wingman from legal and marketing departments, they say, you should not do that with Universal across the street, right? So the question is the following. Do you have a pluggable architecture that can maintain end-to-end security and compliance for your apps and your infrastructure while keeping up with the business? Now, the last top priority of the four, that should not really be a surprise to anyone, really. The last top priority is leveraging AI with the recent and the yet-to-come advancements in those technologies. Gen AI, as we all know, is both a blessing and a curse for actually every organization to adjust to. More people in your organization will do more things with more data and computing than ever before. This creates, obviously, a lot of opportunities as well as challenges that IT needs to cope with. How can you harness AI and the value that it brings to your business while at the same time avoiding its risks? It doesn't come with no risk. There are risks on your data. There are risks on the quality and the efficiency of the outcome of your AI projects too. And that requires experimentation. You need to make sure that you have open IT architecture to explore rapid trial and adoption of new technologies. We've got a lot more coming on AI topic tomorrow, so I'm not going to spoil it. You have to stay until tomorrow. You have to stay until Friday, actually, even. Yet it's clear that AI also requires security. At the infrastructure, at the compute, at the data layers, AI also requires you to understand and control its cost, because if you don't do, they're going to explode. And AI builds on top and with modern applications. This is to say that those four top priorities are actually all interconnected. Even though they need to be tackled individually as well, for the success of your initiatives, you cannot address one without looking at the others. That's also why we're exactly developing our SUSE solutions like that. We have products and solutions that are modular, that enables you with choice. You got that, right? Yet they're also coming together as well to address those priorities holistically. We are turning open source innovation into truly enterprise open infrastructure platforms. Starting from Linux and multi-Linux as the foundations, we have pioneered and we continue to lead innovation for Linux to the enterprise. The same is true for cloud native. Like Kubernetes, SUSE has always supported and managed any kind of Kubernetes clusters on any kind of infrastructure. To address the four priorities we've just discussed, we need to combine Linux and Kubernetes into relevant solutions to expand platforms addressing the AI needs and the edge requirements. Edge requires solutions focused on security, large scale, and smaller footprints, together with industry and vertical specific needs. With SUSE AI, we curate popular AI technologies, providing you choice with the large, small, whatever models you want to use, as well as the frameworks, workflows, and build pipelines to ensure you do not compromise on security nor compliance while benefiting from all the AI innovation. All those solutions are designed, developed, and improved with the infinite power of open source. This is the best way to build those solutions, and open source is also the best approach for you to run your business. And at SUSE, you might have guessed that, we are taking open source extremely seriously. It's who we are, it's been our DNA for decades, and in 2025, we are as open source first as ever. In the vast open source landscape, SUSE is extremely intentional where we contribute and what we contribute to advance enterprise software infrastructure. This includes code contribution, testing, documentation, governance across many dozens of open source initiatives and foundations. Just to give you a couple of examples, as a major and consistent contributor to Linux for over 30 years, we are demonstrating leadership, including a commitment to give you access to the enterprise Linux source codes, and we created OpenELA as a result of that. Or in partnership with major telecommunication providers like Orange, T-Systems, or Telefonica, SUSE is contributing software for the modern 5G telco cloud that is becoming a standard as part of Project Silver. Something you might not realize, but we are publicly ranked as a top contributor in many of those initiatives. And this ranking is from independent sources. That's not my own data. They are real agnostic sources that shows that consistently we are a top company in Linux contributions ahead of everybody else. I actually want to give a quick shout out to my SUSE engineers who are demonstrating dedication, exceptional contribution, and world-class impact with their contributions. an average of 20 lines per employee added to the last Linux kernel version, SUSE is outperforming the competition, including companies like Red Hat, by a factor of 10. Now, we're proud of that, but why does it matter to you? It does matter to you because that's the unique way that we can bring your priorities to the open source table and solve your challenges and needs with our solutions. Now, enough of me talking about that. We have customers who are going to demonstrate and share the experience that they have working with SUSE. And I would like to welcome on stage Christopher from Merck KGaA Darmstadt, Germany. So Christopher, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. Can you introduce your role and what Merck is doing as well?
Sure. So thank you, Thomas, for having me here. It's great. It's a pleasure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Christopher Lindbeck, and I serve as our head for our Cloud Center of Excellence for Merck KGaA Darmstadt, Germany.
There's a reason why we use that long name. If you're interested, go and meet with Christopher later today. He will explain you a good story why we have to say the entire Merck KGaA Darmstadt, Germany name. So you've been, I understand, a partner of SUSE for quite some time, decades. And can you tell us a bit more about what solution Merck is doing and how SUSE is playing into that?
Of course. So let me start off with briefly explaining what we do as Merck. We are a vibrant science and technology company, and we're split in 3 sectors, which meaning healthcare, life sciences, and electronics. And in the IT organization, in which I am, we are an enabling function to that are crucial in supporting our businesses to succeed. Now, over many years, very similar to what we've heard from Deutsche Bank yesterday, actually over 20 years, SUSE has been with us on this journey and supporting us to be successful. It started off with a few Linux servers for our internal websites, and since then has evolved hosting a lot of very critical and very business critical applications, including, for example, SAP. In the past years, though, or these 2 years, we've also been able to scale out our cloud-native workloads, nice. Where we can rely on Rancher Prime to be our underlying platform.
Cool. So you've got 3 different businesses that are diverse, each one of them by themselves, and yes. Combining them into a single IT as well, that must be quite a lot of complexity, diversity, and different systems to manage. How do you tackle that?
Well, yeah, it sure is. So we have a quite complex and global environment. We are on the other side, though, a very small and lean team or group. So with the help or with let's say the features that your centralized and unified management platforms give us, meaning SUSE Manager or Rancher Prime, really help us to tackle that complexity. We have, we're global, we have workloads on our on-premise data centers, we have them in edge manufacturing sites, as well as in the cloud. And this is where your tools help us getting control and being able to manage them efficiently.
Yeah, across all of that with some automation and helping you with the operation of all of that.
Exactly.
Cool. So we talked about what you're doing, technologies. There's something I want to also share, and it's a bit uncomfortable for me to ask that question, but it's been 20 years. As in any relationship, there must have been bumps on the road, like things that didn't work the way you expected. Or can you share some of that, and what was your experience with SUSE on the bumps?
Yes, well, for sure, as you mentioned, along that journey, it's a give and take, and it takes a little bit of effort to maintain that good relationship. And as we are very happy with the collaboration, there are, of course, sometimes some, I would say, we're not always satisfied with certain capabilities and features, or more said, the lack of. So we can be at some points impatient, I would say, and like to push you a little harder to, let's say, innovate quicker. But overall, I think, however, the message I want to relay is that what you do well is your willingness to listen. And I really feel or believe that this is, you value our voice. And examples here from, from the past has been, even though I'm sure this is not solely our contribution, but I'm really happy you're taking our feedback and bringing out topics like central observability and container registry as we go forward.
Oh, so container registry, that's an announcement we're making later. So you can join our marketing team as well to product announcement at SUSECON. Thank you very much. So we're listening to you, and we actually do value your voice. Thank you for sharing, Christopher, and good rest of SUSECON. Thank you very much. Open source technologies are required to solve your problems, to meet your opportunities, and yet technology only is not enough. There are additional unique values and principles that are core to SUSE that we deliver to ensure your success. We touched on choice, and that's a necessity. Every enterprise on the planet today has diverse services, operating system, container management systems, container ecosystems, as we've just discussed with Mark as an example. And we do have at SUSE platforms that are agnostic to provide a foundation for your hybrid and multi-cloud systems. We further empower choice at the workload level as well. This is to simplify your operations, accelerate your modernization initiatives, and provide your business choice to cost optimize what you run and where you run it. Now, in addition to openness, you do need reliability and predictability of your infrastructure. The enterprise part is obviously very key to that. We provide as SUSE consistent code everywhere, predictable release cycles, and long-term support so that you can maximize uptime for your most mission-critical workloads. SAP is one, but not only SAP, right? The second unique value that SUSE brings you is ensuring that everything we deliver comes with security first by design. We have pioneered trusted supply chain with a very rigorous secure open source build process. It is combined with the highest levels of certifications for things like FIPS, Common Criteria, SALSA, and others, so that we ensure that you're protected from supply chain attacks at all times. We deliver you solutions that you can trust to run in your own environment. Then you also need to secure your own environment, and again, we help you do that with unique capabilities like unified lifecycle management and powerful runtime and network visibility capabilities. Finally, where I do believe that actually SUSE leads the pack by quite a distance is ease of use of solutions. It's always been a key differentiation of SUSE products. We're hearing that from you and from the analysts. We're hearing that from the market. And at the rate of today's technological change, ease of use is extremely important due to skills shortage and skills gap as well. We provide you a user experience to automate critical tasks, including full stack deployment, lifecycle management, and observability. Now, back to your top 4 priorities. You can better optimize costs and reinvest savings into innovation. Finally, I'm going to share some announcements. We are developing and finalizing 2 releases for SUSE Linux. First, SUSE Linux 15 Service Pack 7, the last service pack for version 15, which comes with the longest lifecycle support to date, until 2037. Later in the year, we are going to release SUSE Linux 16, the next major version of SUSE Linux, that does a lot of things, but 2 things that you need to keep in mind. First, it will optimize for any type of workloads, and second, it's going to be done in a way that is the best landing OS for multi-Linux support. We are introducing new features for MLS. 2 significant ones are the support of minor versions, and we also support you when you migrate from Enterprise Linux 8 to Enterprise Linux 9, so we can support migration as well with the MLS support. I'm also very excited about our new developments with SUSE Rancher Prime, specifically for developers. SUSE Private Registry is one of them, surprise. But we're also designing blueprints and designs for developers to use their software development cycle tools like Git, GitLab, CI/CD, and GitOps to push applications from the IDE, from their development environment, to Kubernetes on top of Prime, so that developers' life is going to be a lot easier than before. On Rancher Prime, what's very important is the ecosystem as well. And we've got a ton of great announcements there. One of them is with SUSE Virtualization. We heard you. you need more storage options with SUSE virtualization. So we're announcing the support for third-party storage, and partners like Dell, Oracle, NetApp, and Portworx are actually supported now with SUSE virtualization. Another very exciting news in the ecosystem landscape for Prime is a partnership with Temenos. So Temenos Transact and Rancher Prime are coming together to become the best banking software platform. The last one on the ecosystem, you might have heard about SLES for SAP. In the past few years, we are launching SUSE Rancher for SAP applications the same way that we do SLES for SAP. Let me move to AI. Last SUSECON, we launched an early access program for AI, and we are constantly improving SUSE AI. You can now use securely agentic workflows and guardrails around the models to make sure that you comply with the ethical and security corporate compliance that you need. One key thing that we do bring to AI is AI observability. It is key that you understand the performance of your AI workloads, of the models, the use of the token, and also the use of your GPUs and infrastructure running AI. We launched SUSE Edge Telco 3.2. It comes with telecommunication features for radio area network, but also general edge features like longer life cycle and validated designs for specific configurations. There's a last new area of innovation and announcements that I'm not making intentionally, because I'm going to welcome a partner to talk about that today. With SUSE solutions, we are bringing a lot of them to the cloud marketplaces. And we're also entering SaaS solutions with some of our cloud-native solutions. To talk about that, I'm extremely excited to welcome to the stage Manu from AWS. Can you please introduce yourself and your role at the company?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Manu Prabhakar. I lead all of our business application ecosystems as well as our ecosystem for Linux partners. I've been with AWS for more than 10 years here, and so really looking forward to sharing our partnership between SUSE and AWS.
So we've been partners for quite a while, right? And yourself, you said 10 years in the partnership.
That's correct.
So what are the highlights? So why are we partnering? What are the shared values that we have? And then what have we done the past 10 years, actually, Manu?
Yeah. So I think, in fact, the partnership between SUSE and AWS has preceded my role at AWS. So the two companies have been partnering for 15 years now. In fact, when we just started the EC2 service, SUSE was one of the first Linux operating systems that was embedded together with EC2, and customers could start by one-click deployment on the EC2 console and get started and do pay-as-you-go commercial Linux. So that was, circa 2008, 2009. So we've been partnering since then. I think the North Pole for the two companies has always been innovating on behalf of our joint customers. And I think that trajectory has started with SUSE on the EC2 console. Then it moved to making sure that mission-critical SAP workloads are running on SLES for SAP. Then around 16, 17, 18, that's when the Kubernetes and the container system really took off. I think SUSE was there along with Rancher and making sure that both the multi-cluster support on EKS as well as just like if customers wanted to run Kubernetes direct from bottom up on EC2, that capability was there. And I think then the next chapter was around observability and everything that we are doing here, right from managing the different states of, and I will talk more about that. And I think the GenAI. There are thousands of customers that are running mission-critical workloads on just SUSE products, customers like Philips 66 and so on and so forth. So it's just been a really rich partnership and a partnership that every new chapter of the cloud, the two companies have been innovating.
And we have many joint customers, as you said, that are actually driving our decisions on how we innovate together and how we make available solutions to them from third parties and to marketplace. And around cloud native specifically, actually, we're doing a lot in the SaaS space. So I have to say thank you to AWS for helping us with the SaaS factory to develop SaaS solutions from SUSE Observability to become SUSE Cloud Observability as SaaS. And today we're announcing two new SaaS offerings from SUSE as well. Now it becomes a tradition, so I'm getting my guest to do my announcements. So can you announce the new SUSE products on AWS as SaaS that we've done?
Yeah, so I think just the backstory is customers love the fact that they don't have to do the undifferentiated heavy lifting in getting started with SUSE products. It's as easy as a one-click deployment, pay as you go, and you get started. So one of the big products that potentially you'll be hearing soon is around making sure that the Rancher solution, which is primarily a big use cases around doing multi-cluster management with EKS, that will be available as a SaaS offering on AWS. I think then that adds to the entire observability stack from SUSE. So if you think about it, customers who are running serverless workloads, customers who are running Kubernetes workloads, customers who are running databases, and then security applications, they can have the end-to-end visibility on a single pane of glass with SUSE observability. And then that solution now is available as SaaS. So customers don't have to jump for a separate pane for serverless, separate for EKS, for Grafana for EKS, separate for security. They just have one common point of view. So they not only can see what's happening in their end-to-end deployment model, they can also then take remediation steps as well. So I think just kind of coming back, having both the SUSE Rancher capability as SaaS, having this entire observability as SaaS, is just making it super easy for customers to get started. And we are very excited about that.
And we're getting good feedback from EKS customers as well. That's going to help them actually use the best of EKS and then get better for their business. We have to talk about AI as well, and I think that's future also innovation that we're looking at jointly doing.
Yes.
Can you share about your strategy on that?
Sure. From a AWS perspective, I think our North Star is to make GenAI as easy and as accessible for as many of our customers. So it's all about democratizing AI. I think when we think from an AWS perspective, there are three big layers of the stack for GenAI. I think the first one is around innovating on the infrastructure layer. And there are two big pieces to it. One is making sure that the best instances in the market, whether it is NVIDIA or AMD or Intel, they are available in the most optimized manner on platform. In a similar vein on the infrastructure side, AWS is doing a lot of innovation. We started with the Graviton, our own native CPUs, and that has now transformed into Trainium and Inferentia. So Trainium is used for training GenAI workloads, and then Inferentia for inferences. To give you some stats, our training instances the Amazon training instances are 50% more cost efficient than other industry standards. So 50% more cost efficient. And at reInvent, that's our big user conference that happened in November, we just launched Trainium 2, which is 2 times faster than what we had Trainium 1. So I think there's just a lot of innovation that's happening on the GPU side here at AWS. I think then how that pertains to SUSE is that SUSE is already certified the Graviton, the CPU instances, and now we are working on certifying the Trainium and the Inferentia instances. So that's the first layer of the stack, infrastructure. Then if you move up, you want to make sure that the customers are able to build these LLMs, whether it is a small LLM, big LLM, they're able to do that quickly, as well as then train and fine-tune these LLMs. So we have both the Bedrock and the SageMaker family of products here to get our customers started. And I think the top layer of the stack is just high-level services, whether it is queue for transformation, queue for development, queue for business, chat assistants that really can start delivering productivity for our customers.
Thank you.
So I think SUSE has been an amazing partner. We're just very excited about what we're going to do together on the Trainium and the Inferentia stack.
We're also very excited. Thank you very much, Manu.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We know that you sometimes feel that choice has eroded, that it's not about you and your needs, but about some vendors who are looking at themselves. We know that you have to address those top priorities that we've discussed, that you do not want to be paying more for the same, or that opinionated stacks are not giving you the autonomy to use best-of-breed technology. There is choice, though. SUSE wants to restore some of that balance back in your favor. We want to give you choices, options, and power so you can win. While going at your own pace, with SUSE, you can move away from costly systems, you can save and shift some of that budget to innovate faster with us. You can get the real power of open source. We'll hear more about that with our next speakers. Thank you for your time.
I'm going to tell the story about why SUSE is your ideal strategic partner. And it goes back 25 years. 25 years of enterprise Linux. What I mean to say is, 25 years ago, SUSE invented enterprise Linux. And you can see here behind me, this is a quote from a press release of the first truly enterprise-grade Linux distribution released by SUSE, ironically, for a mainframe. But an i386 version came out just a few months later. And if you think about how long 25 years is, if you went to get a PhD 25 years ago, you could have gotten 5 PhDs in that time. Now, then as now, practitioners and enterprise IT shops, they were challenged with maximizing their business impact, minimizing costs. Think about the year 2000. We had all just come off the Y2K bug, all that churn, fixing all those Y2K bugs, and the first dot-com bust, right? So just massive pressures on these IT organizations to maximize their impact while reducing their costs. And so you can imagine people looking at all these workloads started to think maybe Linux is starting to look pretty attractive, right? Just to pick a couple of them. Web hosting, can we move that off of our, car costing Solaris station and move to some, Linux blades? Email, ERP, that's a little foreshadowing, because at the time, running SAP was one of the biggest workloads that people were running on those mainframes. But it wasn't so easy. It wasn't so easy because enterprises have enterprise requirements, right? And back in 2000, we tackled the first really basic ones, right? SUSE came out with a predictable life cycle, right? So an IT organization could plan when their next version, when their upgrades would be and that kind of thing. And also L1, L2 support, right? Like, who are you going to call when you have an issue? Well, to this day, SUSE is known for the longest regular support life cycles, and we're known for our sky-high net promoter scores on our L1 and L2 support. People love our support teams. Now then what crept in? More enterprise requirements. L3 support, right? Can you fix my bugs upstream? So SUSE innovated with L3, and you can still see that today. SUSE is a key part of the upstream kernel community, among the highest contributors, as Thomas was bragging about before. In fact, he didn't mention that if you go back and look at some of the recent kernel versions, the single highest contributing engineer in the list in LWN is a SUSE engineer. Worried about provenance, right? Do we know where this software is coming from? And so we came out with this build sealed process, mitigate that risk of a tool chain attack. But then security certifications came in, right? People wanted third-party verification that Linux was being built in a secure way. And so SUSE now is known for having the highest level of certifications and the most certifications. Whether it's FIPS, NIST, EAL, doesn't matter what it is, I promise you that we are going to be ahead of the competition in our certifications. And then, of course, patching. If there is an issue, can we respond? SUSE is early adopter and extremely active to this day in the embargoed CVE mailing list. We invented enterprise Linux. We met all of those enterprise requirements. And since then, enterprise Linux has pervaded all aspects of enterprise IT. And so what happened there, right? Really realistically, Linux is at the core of open source. And the nature of open source is evolution will happen in all directions, right? And so indeed, Linux has evolved to pervade all aspects of enterprise IT. It's hard to remember in 2000, it was not like that. So think about it, without Linux, we'd be running mainframes with Unix. Without virtualization on Linux, there would have been no explosion of the cloud, right? Without containers on Linux, there would be no cloud native, right? And without enterprise Linux, there would be no third-party certification of key workloads, like the hundreds of ISVs who have certified on SUSE Linux, including SAP. Enterprise Linux has, evolved and pervaded all of these aspects, and SUSE has the deep expertise over 25 years underpinning all of this. Okay, so choice. Obviously, enterprises need choice, and we talk about some of the fundamentals of choice. We make Linux, we support many Linuxes. We make Kubernetes, we support many Kubernetes. But if you're an IT organization, there's a lot of other kinds of heterogeneity that you're dealing with, right? Your workloads vary on multiple dimensions. Location, right? Am I running on the data center? Am I running on the edge, right? On the cloud, anywhere in between. Scale. Some applications, extremely mission critical, run once a day. Other applications are processing millions of transactions a minute. Uptime, all right? Some applications cannot afford to be offline for 1 second. Other applications, you want to wind them down over the weekend so that you don't waste cloud costs. So there's all this different heterogeneity in the priorities of your workloads in all these different modalities of Linux. And so really, if you're in an IT organization and you're looking at all the workloads, the complexity of the heterogeneity is real. It's much higher than it was in the year 2000. But the primary challenge remains, right? You're still under extraordinary pressure to maximize impact and reduce costs. And here we are coming off this weird pandemic with all the related booms. Let's take a pause in the story here, and let's actually talk to a partner and a customer who they're both working with SUSE. All three of us are working together to maximize the impact of enterprise Linux. So I'd like to welcome Matt onto the stage.
My name is Matthew Ordis. I'm the Chief Architect for our mission critical workloads as part of Azure Core Engineering. We're a specialist engineering team as part of that, really responsible for the core development and specifically around mission critical SAP on Azure. We're responsible for the hardware design, the software that runs on that, the certification around that platform.
All right, so probably people are interested in what Microsoft and SUSE have been doing together around Azure.
So you can imagine when we released Azure, there was a heavy bias on Windows in terms of where it came from. Some of you here may remember Steve Ballmer's position on open source and some of the things that he said around that, not particularly complimentary. But we soon realized that Linux and open source is going to play a key role in delivering this. And in fact, if we look at back at 2018, I think we shared that we were at 50% of VMs were running Linux, and today over 65% of VMs running there are actually on Linux today. And that is a large part of our relationship we've had with SUSE, really helping us create that trusted platform for running Linux Enterprise, to be able to run S/4HANA, to run the database. And in fact, we chose SUSE to be the operating system on our first program around S4 for the database. So, we've lived that. We now are actually implementing that internally.
In terms of those co-innovations that we were working on together, can you give me some examples how that maybe some of the things we did together and how that benefited customers?
Yeah, so Microsoft required to gain knowledge about how Linux. It wasn't the first thing we were there, so SUSE has been part of that journey with us in terms of building those teams, building that knowledge about how that we actually do that. That has allowed us to kind of work together on that focus internally on the basically building that collaboration has allowed us to do stuff directly internally, do stuff directly with our customers like yourselves, as well as working directly with SAP in Germany about how they run SAP on Azure, on SUSE, on RISE.
Do you want to talk a bit about how it's benefited customers?
Yes. So some of the key elements that we're actually doing is this. I'm going to talk about kind of three things that we have here. So there's Azure Monitor for SAP. solution. So this is the work that we did to look at the telemetry, look at the monitoring, and actually visualize that within Azure so you can be able to see that. The second and one of the most important parts is obviously the HA and DR work that we do together. How do we make sure that we're working on this, so the pacemaker work, the clustering work, as a co-development? And one of the areas you've heard before is this thing that we refer to as SDAF, which is the SAP Deployment Automation Framework. This allows us to consistently deploy the SAP systems, but down the infrastructure, essentially infrastructure as code, install the operating systems, install SAP on top of that. And a great example of bringing those things together is a joint customer that we have, Kona. I've worked with Kona now, actually personally, for over 8 years, so it's a fantastic relationship that we've had jointly on that. And this really allowed them to be able to build out the infrastructure and allow them to focus on their business transformation. So this, I hope, demonstrates some of the key areas of jointly running some of the largest mission-critical workloads in the world on Azure and on SUSE.
You told me over coffee that the largest VM in the world is running SUSE. Is that really true?
That is true. And again, telling Rick a confidential secret is a key thing to, in its relationship. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that. So we've actually got a 24 terabyte machine that has been out for a while, and that has been, most of those are running SUSE. It's the largest in the world. And we actually, at the end of last year, released a 32 terabyte machine. And to give you a little bit of context of the size and scale of this is a 16-socket machine, 896 cores in non-hyper-threaded, 776 when it's hyper-threaded. Again, one of the largest in the world. And so you can be confident in that. And we engineer with SUSE, with SAP, about how we run these extraordinarily large workloads. And we'll continue to work on that design capabilities together. How do we implement the joint support to make sure you have mission critical, to make sure that you are successful as customers for both SAP and our other workloads.
What an amazing story. Thanks, Raj. I would like to welcome from Kona, Francesco. All right, so we've been hearing the word Kona a lot and hearing your name a lot, and you guys are the award-winning Kona. But could you tell us a little bit about Kona?
Sure. So Kona is an acronym that stands for Coke One North America. It dates back to the late 2000s when many of the bottlers wanted to create an SAP, primarily an SAP template to roll out SAP across the world. That has subsequently evolved into other things. So we have the biggest e-commerce platform. We support Snowflake, Blue Yonder, and a big, big SAP environment that Matt just referred to earlier. Sorry, if I can add. So this entity supports 95% of Coca-Cola branded sales and products in North America, so that we touch around 80,000 employees a day. And those red trucks you may see around the country and around the world, we plan around 10,000 loads a day.
Got it. So when I'm having my Diet Coke at lunch, I have you to thank
Absolutely.
for getting that bottle to our
Absolutely. Have
caterer.
more than one.
All right. So tell us a bit about the project with Matt and Azure and SUSE.
So around about the end of 2022, we took a conscious decision that we were going to move from an on-prem ECC to an S/4HANA in Azure. And we doubled down. Actually, we met Ivo and Diego in 2023 SUSECON and asked for their renewed partnership. We knew that we needed the best players at the table with us because we were about to do something unprecedented. We were about to take our family jewels from a data center and move them up to the cloud. And thankfully, we stand here. My friend Uday and I are here. We haven't had any issues. The go-live was a dream. And we used many of the tools that our partners provided, primarily the SLES, the SDAF that Matt spoke about. We did around 16 cycles, which allowed our technical team to rehearse and our users to concentrate on testing.
And we collaborated on all of that?
Absolutely. It was quite a strange event. The original plans, by the way, were we were going to be down for 72 hours, which is not acceptable for our business. So we have very few periods in the year where we can go live. We're very cyclical. No activities in summer. And we got grace from the business that we would be down for 48 hours. And the technical piece went from an estimate of 48 to down to 31 when we really did it. And on the Sunday evening, there were many of our stakeholders that thought that we had canceled the project. They were logging in and nothing changed.
Smooth. All right, so you're in production now. How's it been going post rollout?
Fantastic, just as good as when we pre-leading to the go live. We've had no issues at all. 11 months, Uday and myself are here with no phones ringing. You've seen Coke around the country, in Canada, so that's just testament to how things going.
We would have noticed. All right, so what about the future? Are we going to keep working together?
Oh, absolutely. I think our next investment is going to be on resiliency. So we have lofty goals. We want to be able to run production out of multi-zones and regions a couple of times a year, which is unprecedented for us.
Got it. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to working with you more. All right, so that was great. We heard from a couple, from a partner, from a customer. We're all working together. But isn't it amazing that it's enterprise Linux that's powering workloads of that scale, right? 25 years of mastery of every aspect of Linux. Reconnect where we were in the story before our guests. We were talking about heterogeneity that you are dealing with in your environments. And what I want to say is, like, SUSE has you covered on all of those different dimensions. And let me just hit a few of them right now. Maybe you have some servers. You just need to keep those workloads in place. You can't afford a risky migration. Maybe you're paying through the nose to some kind of lock-in oriented vendor and you're looking for an alternative, right? We have multi-Linux support where you can keep those servers in place and maintain them for a predictable life cycle, migrate those workloads on your terms, based on your choices. We have some really nice advancements in multi-Linux support coming out. For instance, we'll be supporting upgrades between major releases, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9. Again, in place, no migration, major upgrades. But also, we're going to be supporting minor releases, right? What that means is maybe you have a workload that's running on an unsupported, right now, minor release in 6, 7, 8, 9. SUSE will be extending support to all of those minor releases. So you can stay on that minor release, plan your migration at the time that makes sense for you. I always say, accept in your heart that you're going to have a heterogeneous Linux estate. Just accept it in your heart. SUSE's okay with that. We're good. We have multi-Linux manager. We can throw your arms around all of those different Linuxes and get control of that estate. Make sure everything is meeting compliance needs. Everything's up to date. Get your operations running more smoothly across all those different Linuxes. So we're coming out with like richer role-based access controls. And this is important because this is going to allow you to like do more clever integrations with your scripts and other tools that you have in your environment. And we're also going to have more fully supported host environments for you. Let me talk about SUSE Linux Enterprise a little. So we have 2 big releases this year of Enterprise. This 25-year mark is a really big culmination for us. So first, we're going to release the last service pack for SUSE Linux Enterprise 15. There's a couple key things about this. First of all, this is going to be the most stable place to run your workloads for literally 12 years. Like, think about that. Like, you can have no drama maintenance in place for 12 years. But there's something else important about this point release, is that this is going to complete the zero trust puzzle for Linux, right? What that means is that we are adding confidential compute, which is a component that allows you to protect memory that is, say data that's in use. And that allows you to then operate in untrusted environments, like the cloud, like the edge. Okay, and then we have SUSE Linux 16 coming out, which I would like to double click on just a little bit before I bring Pete out on the stage to take over and talk about our cloud native story. So in 16, which I think we're currently scheduled for November, we're going beyond long life cycles to predictable life cycles. So there will be a cadence of releases, of point releases, and future major upgrades. So we're fulfilling a couple promises with 16. The first one is, we promised you that if you're a multi-Linux support user, that SLES 16 would be the easiest SLES to migrate to, or the easiest option to migrate to. And we're achieving that through some different technological choices, some different tooling. But we also always make a promise that you can do in-place upgrades between major versions. So this is to tell you if you're using SLES 15 today and you're ready to go to 15, that will be a zipper-based migration. So that'll be an easy migration. And of course, there's security with SE Linux support. We're bringing in Network Manager, a lot of these mainstream technological choices. We're going to continue with all the certifications, all the secure build pipeline, everything else that you've come to know and love with SUSE Linux Enterprise. So yeah, year 25 is just this amazing culmination of all of this expertise that we've built over the last 25 years in Linux, which I think is a good place to hand it over to Pete so he can come out and talk about our cloud native components.
Morning, everybody. I'm genuinely excited to be back at SUSECON. I've seen and spent time with a lot of familiar faces. Also seen a bunch of new faces. So for those of you that are new to SUSECON, welcome to the SUSE family, okay? Just a little bit about me to kick things off. So I'm a pilot. So that's one of the things I love doing. So I really enjoyed the conversation yesterday, the speech with Nicole. And so in the spirit of vulnerability, just a little bit of backstory. I don't know if you guys heard my walk-on song, but a couple things about that. I'm a big music fan, and it has a tendency to I have a tendency to go too fast, so it helps slow me down and give me some pace. Anyway, the band was a band called Collective Soul, okay? And I picked that because that's kind of what we're doing here. We create some collective soul between customers and partners in SUSE. So I like the band name, and the name of the song was Shine. And I like that because we're going to shine a light on what we're doing around cloud native. So let's talk about that now. Our strategy with cloud native, our goal, is actually quite simple. We want to make SUSE the platform for every organization's cloud native strategy. The platform for every organization's cloud native strategy. We do that with SUSE Rancher Prime. SUSE Rancher Prime is our cloud native container management platform. And we've been hard at work over the last year since we were together at SUSECON, making it even better. We've added observability as a core pillar to the platform. We've enhanced our security, storage, virtualization capabilities. We've introduced enterprise lifecycle and long-term support options. We've added secure application delivery with application collection. We've strengthened our security posture. We've tightened the integration of the portfolio, inclusive of our AI and edge solutions, and we've unified our branding, all while remaining 100% open source, delivering to you openness, flexibility, composability, and choice. Our efforts and your trust in us landed SUSE Rancher Prime in the Leaders Quadrant of the 2024 Gartner Magic Quadrant for Enterprise Container Management. Lots to build from. Where does that leave us now? You heard Thomas talk earlier about some of the key CIO challenges. From a cloud native perspective, there are kind of 4 things that keep us up at night and sort of dictate and drive and shape our strategy. Okay, number 1 is this notion that computing everywhere is the new normal. Okay, computing everywhere is the new normal. What does that mean? Cloud native containers, Kubernetes are ubiquitous. Okay, organizations are running cloud native applications, business and mission critical applications, and they're running them everywhere. We have a responsibility and an opportunity to help organizations manage that massive complexity at scale. That's part of our social contract, that's part of our wingman contract. That drives our mindset. Number 2, it's an insecure world. You heard Thomas talk about security. It is absolutely an insecure world. Security, business continuity, uptime, business resilience are all paramount to our customer strategies. They're not nice to have. Okay? And organizations must be able to trust their cloud native software supply chain. That's part of our ethos. Number 3, developers need more. Okay? Cloud native is not just about infrastructure. It has been a lot about infrastructure, but it's about a lot more than that. Developers are constantly pushed to do more with less and move faster, drive innovation. They need solutions, not just tools, to help them increase efficiency and ultimately to be able to accelerate innovation. Number 4, finally, the modernization move is on. You heard Thomas talk about modernization in the context of application modernization. What I'm saying specifically here is organizations are turning to cloud native as their VMware off-ramp. With all of the actions that have taken place over the last couple of years, customers need a clear and trusted path from today's legacy virtual infrastructure to cloud native. So it's those 4 fundamental market realities that drive what we call our 4 value pillars, okay, that are the center of what we want to deliver from a software and from a value standpoint. Those 4 pillars are, number 1, the notion of unify. I'll talk more about that. Secure and observe. Number 3, around build. Number 4, around modernize. And not surprisingly, we have announcements to make around each one of these things. So let's double click and talk about each one of them now. And I've got some special friends that are going to come out and help me talk about it and share their perspectives. Let's talk unify. A cornerstone, as I mentioned before, of SUSE Rancher Prime has been about providing simple, unified management for all cloud-native workloads. And I want to reemphasize that because it's an incredibly simple concept, but it's incredibly hard to do. No matter where you run your workloads, multiple data centers, multiple clouds, out to the edge, whatever distribution you want to use, whatever OS you want to use, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we give you the same simple, unified management experience. It's about bringing simplicity and consistency of operations to scale. As you can imagine, as a result of that, Prime is certified with a large ecosystem of cloud-native workloads. And today, I'm excited to announce 2 more. First, SUSE has partnered with Temenos. Temenos is a leader in core banking operations software. If you're in financial services or banking, you know Temenos. Okay, we've worked together to certify SUSE Rancher Prime with Temenos Core, which is their cloud-native banking operations software. It's a combination of 2 industry-leading solutions, helping banks modernize their infrastructure and stay competitive. Number 2, based on our long-standing relationship with SAP, we are announcing SAP SUSE Rancher for SAP applications. Okay, what this is, it's based upon SUSE Rancher Prime. This is a turnkey SAP-validated infrastructure platform. Okay, and it empowers SAP departments to deploy, manage, and scale containerized SAP workloads. It's the marriage of cloud native and traditional SAP workloads going into a hybrid cloud environment. The first application that we're certifying is called Edge Integration Cell, but there are many more to come down the path. And with more of these to be delivered, SUSE is committed to being the cloud-native platform for all SAP workloads. Now, to help shine a light on this and provide his perspective, please join me in welcoming CEO of Contiva, Robert Fell. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Okay, and thanks for sharing your thoughts. So,
Sure.
if you would, just briefly, a little bit on Contiva, if folks aren't familiar, and would love your thoughts on today's announcements.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Contiva, we are providing SAP consulting for over 10 years now. We are also a SAP partner and SUSE partner, and our focus is in integration. So we are integrating SAP with any cloud and on-premise system for our customers. So therefore, today's announcement is fantastic news for us, and especially for our customers, because when you take SAP Rancher for SAP applications and combine this with the SAP Edge Lifecycle Management, or also known as Edge Integration Cell, which is the first cell which came out from SAP, and you combine these both, then we simplify the complexity of Kubernetes and the hybrid integration for our customers. So that means our customers get a flexible and secure cluster, which matches all requirements of SAP. And more than that, we also get the SUSE security and the SUSE observability for our customers. So that's what our customers need, and I can't wait to start using this on the first edge integration cell. Yeah.
Excellent. I love the passion. Thank you for that. And the thing that overall that I really like about both the Temenos and the SAP stuff is it's all about the workload. It's all about the workload. It's not about the infra. It's about the workload. So anyway, Robert, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming out. So let's shift gears and talk for a few minutes about Secure and Observe. This is the domain of SUSE Security, which is our full stack, zero trust security solution, providing from build to full security from build to runtime, and SUSE Observability, which provides you with holistic visibility and insight for all of your infrastructure and all of your workloads, okay? We're constantly strengthening our capabilities on this front, and we're constantly expanding our ecosystem of partners and solutions to deliver what our customers need. So in that vein, I'm excited today to announce the integration between SUSE Security and Microsoft Sentinel. So if you're not familiar, Sentinel is Microsoft's cloud-native tool for threat detection and remediation. Now, with this integration, SUSE Security data automatically flows directly into Sentinel, providing a more holistic view of cloud-native and container-centric workloads, okay? And this enables automation of threat responses like automated quarantining of compromised nodes and streamline automation of that process. And furthermore, using Copilot, Microsoft Security Copilot, uses AI now and has this additional embedded rich data to basically be able to provide recommendations, automated recommendations for fast threat mitigation. So very excited about that integration and that solution. So thank you on that front. Okay, let's shift gears again. Let's talk about build. This is a big bucket. Very excited to talk about this. So cloud native, clearly a lot of the attention and so forth around cloud native is around infrastructure, abstraction, run things everywhere, et cetera. But it's not just about managing infrastructure. It's about helping platform engineering teams and developer teams ultimately to accelerate innovation. That's the means to an end. The infrastructure is a means to an end to ultimately help organizations reduce cost, accelerate innovation, et cetera. So SUSE actually has a very rich history in innovation around developer tools with things like Rancher Desktop. You may be familiar with Fleet, more recently with SUSE Application Collection. We are seeing continued strong growth and adoption of these, and we're going to continue to make investments here. This is all about providing tools so that customers have flexibility, they get composability, they get choice. So I want to announce two things because we're continuing to invest here. So number one is I'm pleased to announce virtual clusters. SUSE virtual clusters are now integrated with SUSE Rancher Prime versus via Rancher UI extensions. They're powered by an open source project called K3K. This enables teams to rapidly spin up virtual clusters, creating a fully isolated Kubernetes environment for developers to test in a safe environment, while platform engineering and IT teams still maintain control with built-in guardrails. Okay, so a great tool to add to our arsenal of tools that we provide. Number two is SUSE Private Registry. This is powered by an open source project called Harbor. This is an enterprise-grade registry we'll stand behind, gives you complete control over your container images, so you can securely store and manage them, distribute them. You can actually even scan for vulnerabilities, and you can mirror those images. So it's an ideal solution for air-gapped environments. Okay, so we're excited about both of those. But there's an important point here. Tools are great. These are, we're great on composability, we're great on choice, we're great on flexibility. Many organizations, though, also we've heard the market, they want to be able to potentially just put all the pieces together. They want a more opinionated, prescriptive solution. So I'm incredibly excited to announce, in response to that market requirement, I'm excited to announce SUSE Rancher Prime DevX validated designs. Just think of them as DevX validated designs. What is this? This is SUSE combining SUSE software and third-party open source innovations to provide pre-built, standardized, and secure development pathways. Okay, this streamlines the entire development lifecycle from code commit, all the way to production, and it's supported by a fully documented reference architecture. This is the first one, so think down the road, okay? This is validated designs, not validated design. Okay, so we're going to push the envelope. We're going to build this and introduce this to our partners who can nominate pathways for, designs for certification. Just to give you briefly insight, this first one, first DevX validated design includes SLE-based container images, a Git UI with project-specific actions, SUSE private registry, trusted OCI artifacts delivered through SUSE application collection, Fleet for continuous delivery, RK2 for managing workloads, as well as integration with SUSE security and SUSE observability. Validated designs deliver a massive boost in developer productivity. We're excited to deliver a lot more as we go forward. Definitely check this out. My next topic does happen to be around modernize. As I mentioned, this is predicated on this notion that the modernization move is on. Okay, and for us, this is the domain of SUSE virtualization. So I wanted to spend a couple of minutes on that. Couple key points on this one. We've had this conversation with many, many customers. It's obviously an enormous market trend and direction that people are taking. Our goal as SUSE is not to be a one-to-one drop-in replacement for VMware. That's not our mission, okay? There are lots of vendors that will focus on trying to be that legacy to legacy, transition model. Our focus is about creating a modernization bridge. If you are on a cloud-native journey, okay, then SUSE virtualization is an excellent platform for you to investigate. We're seeing massive adoption of SUSE virtualization. Why? Number one, it's a robust turnkey enterprise solution. Okay, it has all the enterprise features that you would expect for basically managing VMs and containers side by side. It's all about a cloud modernization journey, again, as I said, number one. Number two, it is 100% open source. There it is again. It enables choice, enables flexibility. There is no vendor lock-in. I'm going to talk more about that in a sec. And most importantly, I would argue, what it enables, because it's a bridging strategy, it enables our customers to modernize at their own pace. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And as you heard DP and you heard Thomas and everybody talk about in the days up to now, SUSE is in it for the long haul. We're not going anywhere. Okay, so we're a partner you can invest in, and you can trust that we're going to be around tomorrow, the next day, the next year, the next decade, etc. We're in it for the long haul. We recognize this is a marathon, not a sprint. You can invest in SUSE virtualization, create a modernization strategy that aligns with your strategy. Okay, we're heavily invested here, as you can tell, and I'm excited to announce today, well, Thomas mentioned this one a little bit earlier, but to shed a little more light on this, I'm excited to announce, back to the open source and the flexibility and choice, SUSE introducing SUSE certified storage for virtualization. What that is we've worked with our partners to certify the use of third-party storage with SUSE virtualization. First partners going through that certification process include Dell, NetApp, Oracle, Portworx. More to come as we go down the road, because this enables you to maximize your investment in your existing enterprise storage solutions. Unlock more flexibility, drive automation you may already have in place, increase scalability. It's all about giving you the choice and the flexibility, and we're bringing that to SUSE virtualization as well. And I can't think of anybody better to sort of add some additional context and insight around this one than my next guest. Please help me welcome Global Lead, Developer Technology and Multi-Cloud at Dell Technologies, Mr. Colin Rutherford. We, not you and I, but Dell and SUSE were on stage last year, for any of you that were here last year, having a very similar conversation. I kind of like that. So would love to get your take. I mean, Dell, leaders in the virtualization space, storage, I mean, nobody better to speak to this stuff. So would love to get your thoughts from the Dell vantage point around, number one, how the market has evolved, the landscape has evolved over the last 12 months, and specifically your thoughts on today's announcement.
Yeah, absolutely. So good morning, everyone. Look, first I'll say that obviously Dell and SUSE have been partnering together for quite some time, 20 years in fact, and during that time we have brought to market a range of different integrated solutions. Specifically, if we look inside the last 12 months, I'm sure you'll all agree that we've seen an interesting inflection point in the industry, specifically in the virtualization space. And what that has forced customers to do is really take a pause and focus on two key priorities, and that is choice and flexibility, which you mentioned earlier. And that's where I think SUSE virtualization is uniquely positioned to cater for both of those elements. Reason being is that obviously it provides a rock-solid alternative in the virtualization space, but it also provides, I guess, a bridge and safe passage into the world of containers and container orchestration. At the same time, we're also seeing customers take a pause and look at that infrastructure modernization layer, the underpinning infrastructure, and how they can modernize that and bring that along to the party as well. As you know, Dell Technologies have a range of market-leading storage platforms, and we've been working to build out our CSI drivers and CSM modules to bring the enterprise-grade storage capabilities that we all know and love to the world of this new virtualization era. And that's bringing a lot of value. Dell and SUSE specifically have gone through a rigorous movement of testing, validating, and certifying this integration. And that means that you as the customer end up with a solution stack that is ready to go. And you can essentially move forward a lot quicker with your infrastructure and application modernization initiatives.
Yes. Brilliant. So I think probably the easiest way to close now is we'll just make it a date. We'll see you next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good.
All right. Cheers. Please help me welcome Senior Software Developer, Child Rescue Coalition, Roberto Machero. Congrats on the award. Number two, SUSE is obviously honored to be playing a small part in the amazing work that you folks do. So if you would, you're an existing user of SUSE Rancher Prime, would love to get your thoughts on today's announcements.
Yeah, so Child Rescue Coalition is always delighted anytime SUSE releases new products. Especially if they fold into our Rancher Prime subscription. As a nonprofit, this adds an incredible value. And these products become part of our arsenal. As a tiny team, these tools become a task force multiplier. There's unsung heroes in these tools. I want to say a really big shout out to the teams that work in K3S, Rancher Desktop, and the teams in SUSE support.
Yeah. Woo!
I'm delighted to hear about security. Our systems hold critical evidence for over 100, critical legal evidence for over 100 countries. SUSE, as a known entity and partner, makes those security checks and security visits from countries into our offices a whole lot easier. And we obviously value the DevX-friendly approach and validated designs from SUSE.
So you're fantastic. So you are currently SUSE Rancher Prime customer, but you're also expanding the use of the overall portfolio, yes? Maybe a few thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So we are implementing SUSE Observability and SUSE Security for obvious reasons.
To the point you just made, yes.
Yes. And we just completed, and I'm so excited about this, we just completed our move to SUSE Virtualization from VMware.
All right, so there we go, huh? Now, wait for it though, wait for it. Go figure, that's my next topic. So with that, Roberto, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Well, we've gone through our 4 blocks, and I hope I've given you some good context-rich insight on what we're doing and why, and the value that it delivers to you. Before I let you go, another final important announcement. You heard Thomas talk about this before. We are absolutely invested in delivering more and more of our portfolio via SaaS-based solutions. We've always been strong on-prem. We're increasingly invested in delivering SaaS things. So I wanted to announce 3 updates on that front as well. Number 1, you heard about SUSE Cloud Observability. We actually introduced this as a SaaS last year. This year, we've enhanced the latest stuff you can get out on AWS Marketplace. We've added tailored dashboarding. We've added enterprise-level scalability of greater than 4,000 nodes. And we've added health insights over time. So it's a nice feature enrichment to an existing product. Number 2, we're introducing SUSE Application Collection. This is our solution for secure application delivery, now available in the AWS Marketplace. And finally, SUSE Rancher Hosted. This is a feature-identical version of SUSE Rancher Prime that will be available in about 30 days, providing a fully managed pay-as-you-go offering via the AWS Marketplace. I've covered a ton of ground. I've listed a couple of keynotes, a couple of additional sessions I would encourage you to attend to learn more about what I've been talking about at a high level. Sincere gratitude to Robert, Roberto, and Colin. And then really thanks to all of you. I'm sincerely grateful to be here, to have the opportunity to speak to everybody. It really is a wonderful family, so my gratitude to you for being here and listening to me and giving me the opportunity to talk to you. And on behalf of the Cloud Native team, we look forward to earning your trust in your business every day. So with that, thank you very much.
It is an honor to join you here at SUSECON 2025. I am Keith Basil. I go by Basil. I am the general manager for SUSE's Edge business, and I want to invite you with me on a journey to yes. So when SUSE started its Edge business, Edge infrastructure was a daunting task. It was almost an impossible challenge. Components of a solution required us to address complexity, so there was too complex, too fragmented, and very difficult to scale. With Edge deployments, we are faced with parallel challenges. So on one hand, we have to address the complexity. And on the other hand, we have to bring organizational value to the organization. So as we say in the Edge, applications go where they're best treated. So stepping back holistically, we saw the landscape and the journey in front of us. So I want to reiterate that the driving challenge is infrastructure complexity coupled with application, modernization, and delivery. With SUSE Edge Solutions, we wanted to resolve these challenges for our customers and partners by simply saying yes. We wanted to say yes to tackling the complexity because resolving the complexity is the proving ground for industry leadership. We wanted to say yes to the ease of application delivery, placing applications where they provide direct organizational value. This is the Edge. And we wanted to say yes to a very strong security posture because providing accelerated governance, risk, and compliance readiness for nation states and regulated industries is absolutely required when we go out into the real world. So in short, we wanted to say yes to customers and partners in the broadest way possible. These are the fundamental drivers, the foundational drivers for SUSE's Edge Solutions, and this is our journey to yes. With the idea of yes, we wanted to acknowledge and set context for two fundamentals of our success, and these are open source. Open source is the first fundamental, and DP has really set the pace in bringing focus to SUSE core values in open source communities. Simply put, SUSE brings infinite potential of open source to the enterprise. Remember that. It's going to be key, and it's part of our core value. The open source win here is on many levels. Primarily, as open source community participants, we innately understand the community's purpose, and the community's vision. As members of the community, we intimately understand the customer persona. And that gives us the ability to fully empower our customers to become superheroes in their respective fields. As contributors, we have a deep bench of technical talent, ready to build, and more importantly, ready to support both community and customer requirements. And finally, as open source leaders, we gain the ability to influence and advocate on behalf of our customers while we drive the community forward. So in many cases, particularly in the Edge, the collective power of open source is the best approach to solving broad and complex challenges. To illustrate these tenets, Dr. T mentioned Silva in his opening keynote. I'm going to reuse that and show you just how that first fundamental is applying to what we do at the Edge. So if you look at Silva, Silva is a community where leading communication service providers have come together to build the telco cloud and what we call the telco edge. And they want to do standardization of interfaces, and they want to do sustainability in that space. So as members of the Silva community, we have accelerated telco customer and partner gains in 5G packet core and the radio access network and some adjacent services with work engagements with customers and partners such as Orange, Parallel Wireless, Dell, and Ericsson. The collective requirements of those companies and the community that Silva is are baked into the SUSE Edge for Telco product offering. The second fundamental is SUSE. Our Edge solutions are built leveraging the best components from Linux and cloud-native product families, coupled with Edge-specific engineering that binds the two houses together. Okay, there's a lot of value there. Our growth and success has come from a supreme focus on solving real customer challenges, also scaling with precision and creating net new paradigms for delivering value in the most efficient way possible. Our journey to edge has not only shaped how we approach computing, but our innovation has influenced broader thinking both in SUSE and with customers and partners such as yourselves. So scaling what we've built isn't just about growth. It's about doing the hard work to ensure sustainability, efficiency, and long-term success across the board. And with this, our journey to yes continues. Our commitment to these two fundamentals can be seen in our product maturity. So with the upcoming SUSE Edge 3.3 release, we are going to continue to innovate and bring feature value in three main areas. The first is consistent management and operations. This consistency stems from an edge-first operating architecture that was purpose-built from the ground up to meet the edge requirements. The second is agile full lifecycle management and control. So here, SUSE Edge 3.3 provides extended lifecycle management features anchored by proven design and simplicity in telco, retail, and industrial, and other industry segments. We like to say that simplicity scales. And so when you talk about the numbers that we see in Edge in the tens of thousands, we have to get it right at a small level so we can scale it out to a large level in terms of our deployment. Lastly, comprehensive security. By adopting best practices with an accelerated compliance approach, we address security efficiently by embracing a secure supply chain, security automation, and zero trust-based policies and enforcement. So over the last 3 years, SUSE's Edge solutions have focused on the hard things. In the last keynote that I did, we said we did the hard work. We put in the work. And I want to thank our engineers for being there to make that work a reality. We did the hard things. We solved the most critical challenge for large-scale edge deployments. We've led the charge in helping enterprises modernize at the edge, enabling you to deploy, manage, and secure workloads with confidence. From communications networks to industrial automation to transportation logistics, SUSE-powered edge solutions are enabling business to operate faster, more securely, and with greater efficiency. But we have not done this alone. For customers and partners, we walk side by side with those doing phenomenal work at the edge. Let me introduce one of them today, Mitsubishi Power Aero. So industrial automation is an exciting area for edge where real-time data is used to monitor heavy machinery, improve efficiency, and offer operational uptime. Mitsubishi Power Aero is a leader in power generation and aerospace engineering. The work is very complex. This is where Edge is enabling real-time monitoring, doing predictive maintenance on very large machinery, and gives systems optimization to that machinery. There is no better use case where the digital world meets the physical world at the edge than Mitsubishi Power Aero. So what they do is they bring power where and when the world needs it most. So with that, I'd like to invite Max Holschuh, who is the remote monitoring and diagnostics manager at Mitsubishi Power Aero, to share how edge computing is transforming their industry. Mitsubishi Power Aero is using jet engines, turbines, to do power generation. So what kind of levels of power are we talking about here?
Our products range between 30 megawatts and 140. Maybe a good analogy of what we do for SUSECON is we're like the auto-scaling infrastructure for the power grid.
I understand that Mitsubishi Power Aero is basically a global company. So you actually monitor these power generation stations that you guys provide on a global basis. In our conversation yesterday, I noticed that you said that this could be considered critical infrastructure for a given industry, a given nation state. So how does the SUSE solution for the edge help you with addressing security from a compliance perspective? And then we could talk about the actual monitoring and operational piece as well.
Sure. I mean, there's lots of layers to what you just asked. On the security aspect, how our units are deployed around the world, the power producers that we provide equipment to are in all sorts of different environments and all sorts of different compliance and regulations that they need to we also try to, as remote monitoring, try to say yes to them in providing our services and making sure that we can play ball with their corporate IT and whatever regulatory compliance they have. And essentially, it's having SUSE as the back end with SL Micro and RK2 as our base cloud-native edge infrastructure gives us like something that's very easy to pivot and sort of massage into whatever the customer needs so that they're compliant, everything's safe, and we're all happy.
Yep. We were talking about some of the very extreme locations and environments that your equipment operates in.
Sure.
I would imagine it would be very hard to do a truck roll to one of these locations. So how does the connectivity and the monitoring and operational efficiency help you there?
Sure. I mean, one of the big things that remote monitoring does, or I think the core business function that we have, is our company has like engineers with decades of experience in the aerospace market. They've been living and breathing aerospace, aeroderivative gas turbines for decades, even longer than SUSE has offered enterprise Linux, believe it or not. And bring that human intelligence out to whatever part of the world where we support power grid infrastructure is critical. And essentially being able to like take these plants that go all the way back from like the 1980s to today with all sorts of legacy systems that we gather data from, and being able to sort all that data to standardized sort of labeling and infrastructure and pushing it real time back to us so that our engineers back home can pick up the phone and help these operators of these power plants right at the go is like super critical. We're, if you will, like Archimedes once said, take a big enough lever and you can move the world. Remote monitoring, we're the lever, the engineers move that lever, and in this case, the lever's on a fulcrum, and the fulcrum is the SUSE Edge suite.
Wonderful. That's brilliant. Thank you. And I think you'd be okay with a 400-year lifecycle management that Rick mentioned for Linux, right?
Yes.
So, looking toward the future, speaking of 400 years in the future, what's next for you guys, and how can SUSE help and co-innovate with you?
I mean, the biggest shift that we've done is we used to use SCADA systems for our remote monitoring infrastructure, and we sort of transitioned to a more cloud-native and taking our tools and containerizing them. And that allows us to sort of like have a very standardized infrastructure. And I think that the future is like further developing that, and the rest of the power generation infrastructure, I think, is going to go the same way. You need to have this kind of much more modular approach to things because environments are very diverse these days. There's a lot of legacy equipment running out there that you still need to maintain compliant and be relatively secure, and having these sort of like containerized modules that you can run everything from is sort of like key. I think it's the way forward.
Excellent. Well, Max, thank you so much for joining us and coming out here so far. We very much appreciate you having you. I am honored to welcome Robert Crouch at TCS. Global, same challenges that we have. Like management at scale is a big one. How is TCS addressing that?
So for some of the gray hair people in the room like myself, we've been around the industry for a while. Networks were planned. Over time, we've gotten to a place where we've gone from physical networks to virtualization, and we've gone from virtualization to containers. At today's world, with the ubiquitous nature of connectivity and the demands by the business to get value out of their systems from a sustainability perspective, we've gone to a place where we have autonomous networks. And there's no way that humans can scale with autonomous networks. You need infrastructure and you need automation to do that. So what TCS is invested in is in smart infrastructure to where we can dynamically change the workloads on any given system at any given time, depending upon the needs. And those are literally changing minute by minute. On top of that, we moved then to the generative AI to help manage that, because you need intelligence in order to know what workloads you're going to change at what given time. And then lastly, with the generative AI, whether there be answers for your line automations to look for quality control, or where they be human answers, you need to be able to tap into the back-end API systems to be able to do actual back office business with it.
Got it. So outline and response that you just gave seems to be very high up into the stack. So logically, the relationship here seems to be, let SUSE manage the infrastructure for the edge, deploying it, lifecycle manage day one, day two situations, security and compliance. Yes. And then TCS comes in on top and brings its value kind of with a specific go-to-market play based on the things you just said.
You got it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, excellent. Okay. One thing that we are super concerned about because of your global nature of the TCS business and because SUSE is a global company is compliance and security. So is there anything you can talk to us about how you intend to address that, and maybe even with partnership with SUSE?
Absolutely. So we have a platform focused on the edge that is called ECADS. Stands for Core Application Data and Security.
Okay.
So with that platform, our focus there is to make sure that as we talked about the dynamic nature, we can dynamically change the core to meet the customer's needs at a given time. On top of that, the applications that are going to change virtually depending upon the users at the time. Data is the key piece of that. And then the security, because we're changing in real time, we have to make sure that we're compliant in any given industry.
Yep.
Underlying that, we look to partner with SUSE in the various areas of having Rancher Suite as the capabilities for managing that underlying infrastructure, as well as the edge tools that they've developed both on the AI and on the workload security to integrate where we come on top of it and manage data.
It's interesting you say that because I'm a big champion of what we call compliance as code, where you can reach down and inherit some of the goodness that we've done in terms of compliance and then extend that up to help you specifically with your solutions-based compliance as well. So it's almost like a tag team in terms of augmentation. You had an interesting conversation with one of our colleagues, Richard Cart, who's leading our telco space. And the conversation was based around private 5G. Not a lot of people know that SUSE components are supporting private 5G deployments globally. So what is the vision and what's the interest with SUSE for the private 5G use case?
Excellent case. What TCS is doing is helping our partners in any vertical gain access to private 5G. Basically, it's connected anywhere. So we've gone from customers needing to be landline connected, having core speeds, into a world where we need ubiquitous connectivity. So here we're driving 5G connectivity, both partnering with our carrier partners, Verizon as an example, where we use their private spectrum in order to create 5G networks for various customers out in the space that I can't really talk about publicly. But we're also working with other customers to use the CBRS spectrum in order to enable those.
Correct.
In those deployments, in order to get those, CBRS being an interesting use case, because we have to manage the bandwidth in certain areas. If we step on spectrum, the government needs to come in and shut that down. We need monitoring capabilities tools. That's where we look to SUSE and their great infrastructure capabilities to be able to actively control the networks and be able to stay in compliance with the systems in real time.
This is a really good example. So I gave the list of fundamentals. So we're upstream in the Silva community, listening to the telco providers, getting the specification right, baking those into our product, and now here we are downstream, so to speak, working on solutions that we're going to jointly deploy in the field. It's a beautiful story. Robert, I want to thank you for coming out. This has been great, and
Appreciate it, Basil.
looking forward to working with TCS in the future. So today, we've established a strong baseline for saying yes. Tomorrow, we want to evolve yes into greater segments and greater opportunities. You've heard me mention our method of bringing the best-of-breed SUSE products together as a unified solution. Let me take a brief moment to expand that vision and show you the continued journey to yes by introducing a concept born out of the edge called Unified Core. The Unified Core is a foundational infrastructure layer that today serves as a foundation for all SUSE Edge solutions, and in the future will serve as the backbone for the next generation of SUSE solutions. It brings together the best from our Rancher Prime products and Linux products into a single unit for efficient lifecycle management, security, as we've discussed, and deep validation of all components. So in the future, Unified Core will provide a single integrated core stack intended to make deploying edge infrastructure and future solutions infrastructure as seamless as deploying to the cloud. It will also ensure lifecycle consistency across development, data centers, cloud, and edge environments. And as you saw with TCS, we are accelerating partner innovation, giving companies like Mitsubishi Power Aero, TCS, a fully supported enterprise foundation to build industry specific solutions. And lastly, we see Unified Core as enhancing security and compliance, ensuring enterprises can meet regulatory demands without sacrificing agility. Unified Core will benefit from deep security automation, allowing us to embrace and pivot globally to globally address current and future risk management frameworks. 3 years ago, our journey to yes for Enterprise Edge felt daunting. Today, it's our new baseline. Tomorrow, we're going to make yes effortless. And the best journeys, they are shared. So say yes and come join us in a wonderful future of innovation at the edge. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Enjoy the rest of SUSECON 2025.